everyone. My name's Wendy Trevathan, and welcome to my podcast called Your Nurse Voice Matters. And I've got the beautiful Michelle Gordon here with me today, and we're going to hear some more about what exciting things that Michelle's doing at the moment. So, welcome, Michelle. Lovely to have you.
Thank you for having me, Wendy. I'm
You're-
excited for this conversation.
We met a few weeks ago, and you became curious with what I was doing, and I became curious with what you were doing, and I really enjoyed that conversation. So, I've been really looking forward to this afternoon. So, this is an advocacy podcast for nurses. And as part of this series, we're looking at experienced nurses in the field. So, I suppose the first thing that our listeners and watchers are wanting to know is, who is Michelle Gordon? What has she done? And what nursing kind of background do you have?
Oh, wow. Where do I start? I was just thinking, literally yesterday, the day before, I've been nursing coming up 27 years. So I know you've probably got a few more years ahead of me, but gee, it's a long time. I started my nursing career many years ago in aged care in a graduate nurse program, and I was in a med-surg hospital in Melbourne in Victoria. And that halfway through my graduate program, it became an aged care facility. So the government closed down the acute services and it became aged care. So I was really conflicted at that time because what I'd signed up to for my graduate program hadn't eventuated as I thought, but I actually got so much experience from that year and even the transition into aged care. And I stayed on for another 6 months after that. Really had a calling to go back to cardiothoracic nursing. So my career sort of from then on has been mainly based in critical care. So coronary care, cardiothoracics, a little bit of intensive care, and then 10 years here in Queensland now in an emergency department in regional Queensland. So long.
Quite a journey. Goodness me, going from aged care to intensive care, that's quite a big jump. And some of the examples that I give is, these days graduate nurses come out, and if they don't actually get on a graduate program in a hospital, the aged care option is an option. And I try and encourage nurses to look at that as an opportunity to learn so many foundational skills with aged care. And it's interesting that you've gone from that area into aged care. That's a common question that I do get about that transition. I'm going to delve back a little bit though and
Yeah.
ask you, what prompted you to become a nurse?
Oh, my mum was in the healthcare. I think she was an AIN or whatever you called them back then as a carer. And then she went on to become an admin officer. So she has worked in hospitals back in the day for years and years and done shift work. She very much, Michelle, you'd make a great nurse. You would make a great nurse. And my auntie was a nurse as well. So my mum's sister, and really encouraged me to explore that side. I've obviously love helping other people, and that has been a part of my nature from a young girl. And so my mum very much encouraged me to explore nursing, and I just took to it. I loved it. And it was like, I'm in and I'm here. And this is who I am.
It's in your DNA, as
Yeah.
my sister said a couple of weeks ago in her podcast. It just becomes entrenched in you, doesn't it, to actually have that caregiving gene to give to others.
Yeah.
And I know that you've transitioned from there. You're in the process of setting up some really exciting things. Can you tell us the story as to what prompted you to look at other options?
Yeah. So 6 years ago, I hit rock bottom burnout. And there were several factors as to how I found myself in burnout. And I, for 2 years, was in a really dark space and I wasn't given the support that I needed. And I very much was looking for support in my local facility and where I worked. I just wasn't understood. And back then, the options with employee assistance and even me in regional Queensland, the support was really limited. And I just found myself floundering in this space and just showing up for everyone else and continuing to show up for work. And yet I felt like I was so unwell and so sad and so exhausted.
Yeah.
And so that really sparked me to then take matters into my own hands and say, enough's enough. I spent my days off. So I was working full time. I had 3 young children at the time. I was spending my days off in doctors' clinics and psychologists and employee assistant programs and all sorts of different things. It wasn't online back then, so it's very much online now and has a different format. However, I just thought, this is ridiculous. Why am I burnt out? What led me to get here? What can I change? And I took myself on a bit of a healing journey, which was 12 months. And I really deep dived in on my own to look at the drivers of burnout for me. So, what was it that was driving me to burnout? How could I change that? And what was in my control to change that? And how can I still do nursing because I love nursing without burning out? Found myself at the end of that 12 months in a really great space. I had then had lots of my colleagues and nurses back in Melbourne because I was sharing a lot of my journey on Facebook and Instagram, reaching out, asking for help. And that led me to, I realized then that I had found a bit of a formula as to how to help nurses overcome such a severe stage of burnout. So I wrote a course and I've been delivering that course for the last 4 years for nurses across Australia and coaching them from various levels of burnout to create really aligned, healthy, happy lives and careers.
Nice. I know that there's going to be many nurses out there going, that's exactly where I am at the moment. That's how I feel. You've just described, me on the hamster wheel, trying to keep it all together for my family, for myself, for my relationships, but it's just not working. I wrote in my book, you're keeping the shop front tidy, but the back of the house is actually quite a mess. And uh, how many nurses are out there that are feeling like that at the moment? So good on you. So you've been doing this for 4 years. Wonderful. Okay. And can you talk about some of the successes? We won't say names or anything, but, tell me the story or, maybe 1 or 2 nurses that you've come across and what's been their background and how you've helped them.
Yeah. So oh my gosh, who do I choose? 75% of the nurses that I have worked with in 2023 and 2024 have landed more aligned nursing positions. When they come to me, I really look at all factors of their life, including where they're working, what type of nursing role it is. One beautiful nurse came to me very recently and she was at stage 12 burnout. So burnout has 12 stages and stage 12 is mental, physical and emotional collapse. She is in her mid-20s. She was working in a very high-paced clinical nurse role in acute care and shift work, working full-time. And when she came to me, she was very unwell, so very, very sick and completely dissociated, so disconnected, not even physically present. She was a million miles away. We did a lot of work to undo and first of all, find out the drivers of her burnout, how misaligned the position was that was depleting her on every level, and getting her into a new role in nursing. I spoke to her the other day and said, "Rightio, where are you at?" Because she's had these really profound changes. She's so present now. She's alive. She's got color in her face and her eyes are bright and she's connected. She's smiling like she's actually living life. So she landed a consultant med rep role.
Oh,
So
wow. Okay.
she is Monday to Friday, so absolutely loving it. she said to me, she's not spending all her hard-earned money now on specialists because she had all sorts of symptoms of burnout, GI upsets, her skin was breaking out, she was seeing specialists for all different things, and that's all stopped.
Mm,
Stopped.
that's
So,
amazing. And that it's all that preventative stuff that as nurses we know, like we've got the knowledge, don't we? But we just don't apply it to ourselves, and we don't seek help. Like we think everything's okay. It's going to be okay in the next 6 months. This is going to happen. That's going to happen.
just push
Postponing
through.
everything. I'll just push through. I'm strong. I'm resilient. I can do this. Oh,
Yeah.
fabulous. That's a wonderful result. And you're right. When you look at someone and they've got that dull expression, they're not present, to switch to being alive and engaged and being present and being very aware of their surroundings, it makes such a difference. I guess, this podcast is all around advocacy, like advocating for nurses. What would be one key message that you would like to say to our nurses out there that are possibly within those stages of burnout? And obviously, when they have your first session with you, you can actually say, this is where you're at. But what
Yep.
would be one key message that if we're starting to recognize that that's happening, what key advice would you give to that nurse?
The key advice is to not not let it keep going. And you just said before, you hit the nail on the head. We're so good at going, it's all right. I'm okay. I'll just keep going and not actually looking and really doing that work on assessing ourselves. So great at looking after everyone else, so great at assessing our patients and diagnosing what's going on with them and assessing where they're at, but not great at really having a good hard look at ourselves and saying, where am I and what needs to happen here?
Yeah.
Because burnout will creep up on you. The first few stages are very sneaky, I guess, and it starts with just pushing through, and it starts with neglecting your values and really going, so my health, oh, I won't worry about eating tonight. I'll just grab a packet of chips, or I won't worry about sleep, or do you know what I mean? Like we start to neglect those things, our basic human needs. So the first thing is to actually stop and take a good hard look at ourselves. And I think
Mm,
that's the first thing. And it's the hardest thing to go, I'm not doing okay, but that's what needs to happen.
yeah.
And I always start my clients off with that accept, like recognizing and accepting this is where I'm at. And that's like the platform for, well, okay, are you ready for change? And
Mm, mm. And what would you say to nurses who are having their loved ones tap them on the shoulder and say, "You're not the same person that you were 2 years ago.
yeah,
What's
I hear
what's
that a lot.
happened?" Yes. And, a lot of nurses either shrug that off, "I'm okay." For me, if someone that I cared about tapped me on the shoulder and said that to me, I'd be probably going, "Oh, my goodness, I need to pay attention to that." Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. That's probably one of the stage 6 or 7 of burnout, I'd say, where your loved ones notice a difference in your behavior
Yeah.
and the way that you're showing up.
Mhm.
And at that point, if you don't acknowledge and listen, you just continue to progress and progress and progress. I've actually had one of my nurse clients' husbands reach out to me and message me to say thank you for bringing my wife back to me and my children, their mum back, because we didn't know who this person was, for the last year or so. She hasn't been right. And now she's back and she's back to being, vibrant and the beautiful mum and human she is. So that's really
Beautiful. And not only that, it's the ripple effect, isn't it? So nurses that are managing their situation and progressing and improving, they're more engaged at work. They're looking after their clients a lot better. They're more perceptive to things.
yeah.
So, getting that help is an investment, isn't it, into that nurse's future.
Oh,
Mhm.
absolutely. Everyone benefits from you being burnt out, you being depleted and completely exhausted, not your loved ones, not your patients, right? And I remember myself exactly in that moment, just looking at these patients coming in through the emergency, and I just thought, I think I need an emergency bed more than these people. That's it I felt. I
Yes.
just so sick and so depleted that I was like, I need to lie down. I need to take up space in here because I am not doing great.
No.
I kept pushing through.
Yeah. When I wrote Midlife Mojo, that was one of the key things. I could start seeing myself becoming the patients I was looking after, and I went, "No, stop. That's got to
Wow.
stop happening." So that was the epiphany moment for me.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
so Michelle, if we had any of our listeners that are wanting to reach out to you, do you have a website that they can go to?
Yes. www.thehealthyhappynurse.com. I'm also on Facebook at The Healthy Happy Nurse and Instagram at Michelle Gordon_coach.
Excellent. And there's a landing page and they'll contact
Yeah.
you. You can see your services, all that sort of thing. So, Michelle, thank you for taking time out in your evening. I'm sure you're getting busy organizing the family and things. So, it's been such a pleasure having you here today.
Thank you. And I'm really excited for what, you're bringing to this space as well, Wendy. So
Mm.
this is amazing. And
We,
I
we,
love the work.
we actually said when we first met that you and I have a potential to be working together with what we're both doing, because I'm focusing on the role and the application and the hard yards in putting all that together. And then you're looking after the well-being. So it's a really nice match. I can see it evolving over there. So for anyone that's listening, yes, I do run a free seminar and it's called the Nurse Career Navigator. And we cover off that role alignment that you talked about, the three aspects of recruitment. So applying for the position, identifying your curriculum vitae and getting those answers right, going through the interview process, because that's really quite daunting. And then the fifth aspect of that is what you actually do after the recruitment selection is closed, looking after yourself in that transition moving forward. And also, if you're unsuccessful, using that as a reflective opportunity. So I run free seminars on my website called www.healthyoptionsnow.org. And once a month, there's a free seminar for people to come into. So, Michelle, any last words of wisdom?
Oh, look, for nurses out there, the first signs of burnout are frustration, perhaps feeling resentful, perhaps feeling like you're on the hamster wheel. And yeah, if they continue to play out after a few weeks and you're finding yourself the following week feeling the same, things need to change and no one's coming to save you. That's what you need to know. And I waited for so long because I thought my boss or my manager would help me or notice me. I thought my husband would. But it wasn't up to them. It was up to me to make that change. So
Take control. We do that in our clients. We do it in ourselves. Take the steering wheel by the hands and lead the way yourself. Absolutely.
yeah.
All right. So this has been Your Nurse Voice Matters, and we look forward to hearing you on our next episode. Thanks again, Michelle.
Thank you.